This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to the Good Neighbor Podcast, episode number 205. Today we have good neighbor Josh Neely from Marshals of Southwest Florida. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Absolutely. Always good to get to know people here in the community and what they do and share that with our listeners. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Why don't you share a little bit about what you do over at Mosquito Marshals?
Yes, sir. So we are a pest control company that specializes in mosquitoes and biting flies. We operate throughout most of Southwest Florida and throughout all of Lee and Collier counties. With our specialty being mosquitoes and biting flies, whenever we, let's say, have a client that calls in and wants us to come out and treat for mosquitoes, typically what we do to really set that up, because every treatment is going to be custom suited for each individual property.
Yep.
So what we'll do is a lot of times we'll set out traps overnight to collect any adult mosquitoes in the area and bring them back to the office, put them under the microscope, identify the species of mosquito, and build the treatment to target that specific species. So while there's lots of pest control companies out there that do treat for mosquitoes, that is really what our specialty is.
I would have never guessed that there were different species of mosquitoes. I thought there was one, they just bite me and I get bumps. That's all.
I hear you. That's what a lot of people think. There's unfortunately here in Southwest Florida, there are a number of species that are active and a lot that are also pestiferous.
Absolutely. You mentioned they all need to be treated a little bit different.
They do.
So how did you get involved in the mosquito fighting industry?
So I'm originally from Mississippi, and I was a full-time firefighter EMT there, and was working on the ambulance on my days off in the fire department, and got kind of burnt out on that and was looking for other opportunities. And about that time, my aunt passed away, and we ended up finding out that she passed away from contracting West Nile virus as well as Eastern equine encephalitis from a mosquito bite. And so that kind of piqued my interest in that from like the medical entomology side of it. And the opportunity arose to take a position as a technician for the very first location of Mosquito Marshals. And so I was, my interest was piqued. Because obviously I saw firsthand, how mosquito-borne illnesses can affect your life and your loved ones. So I kind of jumped at that opportunity and really got involved in the medical entomology side of it, and started working a lot on treatment methods and trying to find what worked the best. And before I knew it, I was kind of head over heels for it. And so I ended up leaving the fire service several years later and opened up a couple of locations there in Mississippi and sold them to move down here when my wife moved down here for her job. So opened up here in 2019 and haven't looked back.
Wow. And it's like you've got that's an incredible story, first of all. But second of all, you've got to have a passion for what you do. And I love that there's that connection with you. Talk about opening a business for a second. From jumping from a firefighter to running your own business, there's challenges. Is there anything that came along your path that now you can look back at now and say, hey, you know what? I'm glad I went through that. It was a little rough at the time, but I'm in a better place now because of it.
Absolutely. Everything kind of went really smoothly with my first two offices in Mississippi. And ended up having a heat stroke at the fire department and was unable to continue in that career. Fortunately, I had already been gaining a pretty good bit of traction with Mosquito Marshals. So I really just kind of dove into that head first and fully immersed myself in it. And whenever I sold my locations there to my partners and moved down here and opened up, Really the biggest challenge I faced was, unbeknownst to me at the time, I opened up right before the COVID lockdowns.
No.
So it's it was definitely, a challenge then. But I've been through plenty of difficult things in life, which kind of all of them are what you mentioned, where at the time you think it's a hardship or something that's negative, but looking back, I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today without them. And really, just learning how to persevere through those different situations has greatly benefited me.
Absolutely. Makes us stronger and helps us, like you said, persevere and move forward. Now,
Yes, sir.
we mentioned about the different types of mosquitoes, but are there any maybe myths or misconceptions surrounding what you do that we can kind of clear up for our listeners?
Yes, sir. The most common phone call I get is people assuming that we are the county mosquito control district, which that's obviously not the case. I'm very thankful for them, and our job is much easier to do because of what they do. And I do have, professional relationship with individuals who are on the public side, as far as we love to share our data with them. Anytime we come across anything that we think they might find interesting, we send that over to them, just as a professional courtesy, because we live here too. So the more data they have to pull from, the better their information is going to be when they're planning their missions, and the more we all benefit from it. Um, Probably another one is kind of like you said, all mosquitoes are the same and you can treat them all the same. That's not the case. There are several species, particularly Aedes aegypti, that is almost completely resistant to traditional pesticides and pest control methods. So we have to get really creative when we encounter those. And it just so happens they are the most prevalent species of mosquito in residential areas in Southwest Florida.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. That's crazy. So, new things in the industry. Are there certain things that are maybe trending or new technologies that have helped you do your job a little bit better?
Absolutely. We actually, the Aedes aegypti example would be perfect here, because when I first came down here, I'd never dealt with Aedes aegypti. They're not prevalent in Mississippi or throughout most of the U.S. Outside of South Florida and a couple of places in South Texas, New Orleans, places like that. And what we ran into was, at the time, the products that we were using were only achieving about a 3% mortality rate, meaning out of every 100 mosquitoes the product comes into contact with the first time, it kills three out of that 100. And when you come back, you've already killed the ones that are susceptible to that product. So you're left with the descendants of the pesticide resistant mosquitoes. So we really put in a lot of effort to find products that were effective, and we ended up partnering with a manufacturer to do field trials on a botanical product that they were coming to market with, and the results were incredible. We're able to now achieve about an 80% reduction in the overall adult Aedes aegypti population and maintain that. So that's 80% is much better than 3%.
Absolutely. Everybody in Southwest Florida thanks you for that. Sure.
Yes, sir.
So talking about Southwest Florida, you're from Mississippi originally. You relocated over here. What do you do when you get a moment? I know owning a business can be very demanding, but what do you do when you get a moment of free time?
Every moment of free time I get, I'm trying to get out on the water. I love to fish, and that's another reason that we really, really are particular in the products that we use, is because the last thing we would ever want to do is contribute to any degradation of the water quality. Because myself and our technicians, like, that is our number one hobby, is fishing. So loving to get out there and enjoy God's creation and the beautiful waters here in Southwest Florida, and hopefully come back with some fish.
That's it. That's why we live down here, to be able to be outside and enjoy those things. That's awesome. Anything you
Yes,
like
sir.
fishing for in particular?
Particularly American red snapper.
Nice,
So
nice.
they're pretty far out there, but you can get them.
You got to look for them, got to find them. So, is there one
Yes,
thing you
sir.
wish our listeners knew about mosquito marshals that maybe they're not familiar with?
Yeah. So, again, we are a pest control company. We specialize in mosquitoes and biting flies. But we do offer general household pest control. We do it all from the outside. So we never have to enter your house unless there's an issue with like insects getting inside. It's exceptionally rare. So when that does happen, we come out and we take care of that for free. Um, but yeah, that would really be the thing. We're kind of in the middle of expanding our services right now to include all pest control outside of termites, and we don't really do a lot with rodents. But as far as like general household pests, like we're having incredible success expanding into that field with the same products and methods that we use to treat for mosquitoes.
That is great. That is great. So, how would our listeners go about contacting you if they had questions, concerns, pests they want to clear out of their
Yeah,
area?
absolutely. Um, the easiest way would be to give us a call at 239-322-2813, or you can shoot an email over to josh@mosquitomarshals.com. And you can also visit our website, which is mosquitomarshals.com, and then
Perfect.
forward slash Naples for this market.
Can't forget that. Can't forget that. Josh, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor. And I hope to see you out in the community soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com. Or call 239-296-2621.